the bag work about of apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You two in Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man, Kill. I got my squad up here in effect. Let me run down everybody. Britt, this is your first time chopping it up with us. What's going on, miss?
Nothing much, just happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. B, what's going on? My homegirl, fellow producer, Boom Bat, what's good?
Always making it happen, you know?
All right, no doubt. Y'all should already know Porsche, my super duper co-host. What's going on, Porsche?
I'm good.
And I got my man Vern from the ATL. We beefing right now.
Hey, I want to ask you what we got on this game, bro.
Man, we ain't got nothing on this game right now. They just went back to school. All them sneakers she wanted, I ain't got nothing on nothing. So
a bucket of pride.
We gonna talk trash. That's it. But yo, one of the things, prayerfully, and I'm sure people have it, but in the intro to the show, we always talk about hip hop love. I say hip hop, R&B, sports, love, and life. And one of the things that I wanted to get to more of was that love and life part, because a lot of times I have so many different things that I do produce, but most people on Twitter know me for producing the music. They really don't know me for being a marriage coach that I've been doing for 10 years. And a lot of times I find the two worlds intertwined because a lot of people who are my age are married or in a serious relationship. And I've kind of kept those worlds separate, but I really felt like I wanted to start intertwining those worlds. And me and B were talking one day. I think we were talking about Love and Basketball, right, B?
Yeah, that was the tweet, because I said it's a trash movie.
Right. And that's what got us talking. And then I don't believe in coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason. So me and B were talking about that. I was like, yo, that would be a dope show. I just seen a tweet from Britt, so then I pulled her in, and of course, Porsche and Vern is just already crew. So it was like, yo, let's dive into this. But keep in mind, it's still gonna be music related. I don't want nobody tuning off. I'm gonna find a way to mix hip hop into this. Trust and believe. And plus, like I always say, for anybody who watches my show, you can never walk away and say you haven't learned something. I learned something from the great people who are on here with me every week. So you will continually learn something, and it is doper to actually learn more than just hip hop or whatever like that. But today we will be chopping it up about my personal favorite love movie. I don't even want to say black love movie. I put this above any movie. Love Jones. That's what we're going to be chopping it up about. Favorite characters, scenes, quotes, how many mics we give. We're going to be chopping up about the soundtrack, all that good stuff. So let's get started. B, this movie came out March 14th, 1997. How old were you in 1997?
I don't think you want to know, because you're going to be like, I'm old every time
Yeah, it's cool. I'm good with being old. I'm good. I've come to the point of understanding is either get old or die. So I'm good with getting old.
I was born in the great year of 93.
Good.
Okay, so you were 4 years old when this movie came out.
I was a youngin'.
All right, no doubt. Now tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
When did you see Love Jones?
I want to say it was, maybe it was 4 years ago. It wasn't too long ago, because I was trying to catch up on like classic movies that I haven't seen, and that was just one of them that I've just never seen. Yeah.
All right, so you watched it for the first time like on some old 2014 type thing.
Yeah, maybe 2013, yeah, around there.
All right, and what was your first reaction from it? Like,
I actually liked it, but I was like, this is so unrealistic, because the only time a man's trying to spit some poetry is if he's trying to be trifling. So.
Well, that tells you the time frame.
Yeah, and that's what I'm about to say. The time frame has a lot to do with this movie. But that's interesting. 2014, and so you did like it.
Yeah.
When you first saw it.
Yeah, I thought it was. It's like one of those movies where it infuses like art with the whole love aspect. So we don't really. I don't think there was. They tried to do that with Brown Sugar, incorporating music with. And I don't think I wasn't captivated the way I was with Love Jones. I was like, whoa, this is like deep, because it was actually like good. Like, it wasn't just like, let's throw some cheesy poetry in there. It set the whole scene, and it was actually authentic. It showed Chicago, so.
Yeah.
All right, no doubt. Britt, what about you? How old were you when this dropped?
I was 6.
Wow.
So, and I saw
Damn.
and I saw it on DVD around 2014 as well.
Okay.
It was actually a date movie. But yeah, my thoughts on it was interesting. I thought it was very creative, and what a love to actually have somebody write a song or a poem about you. Versus now, it's like I won't go there yet.
You
but
gonna let a nigga hit?
Yeah.
That's romantic these days.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things, because a lot of times people will ask, like, Kill, how do people get on the show or whatever like that? And I always tell people it's just an energy that I have with picking people and seeing things. But one of the reasons I want younger folk on here was to kind of talk about, because me and Vern, how long you been married, bro?
22 years in November.
22 years. Yep. I'm at 18, so we've been out the dating game for a long time. So, all this online stuff, I don't even understand what the hell's going on. So we the two old dudes, and I'm gonna need y'all to help school us. Porsche, I know you're not that young. Not saying you're old either.
Damn.
I
know what you mean.
So,
Nah, it's cool. It's cool.
We can tell you've been out the dating game.
I'm not young at all. I wish I was. I'm not.
There you go.
I look like I'm 23, and I'll take that, but I'm not. Straight up.
All right. It's all good. So Porsche, tell me, when did you first see Love Jones?
I was a whole human when Love Jones came out, so I was old.
Oh, man.
So I actually saw Love Jones. Well, it was in theater, but I didn't watch it in theater. I remember the buzz around it, and that is exactly my favorite genre of movie. I love rom-coms. I love that kind of stuff. I do have to say I love Brown Sugar. I know B said she didn't love it much, but I loved it. But Love Jones was good. It was good. I did like it. And I thought for the time, I know you guys, like some people said it wasn't really realistic. In some ways, I think it kind of is actually, and was at the time, and perhaps still is. So I think it's one of those movies that's timeless, really. Like I love it. And again, much like everybody else said, I love the incorporation of the arts, poetry, the soundtrack I love, and I can't wait till we can talk about that. But yeah, overall, I loved it. And I saw it when it came out on, I think it was on video or DVD or whatever it was at the time.
It was not DVD.
Okay, fine. Fine, Vern. I saw it on VHS. Fine.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with VHS. Vern, what about you, brother? When did you?
So I had to go to Blockbuster to see that. Yeah, it came out in March of '97. So I was several months married. So yeah, I saw it from Blockbuster.
All right. And what did you think? What were your thoughts on it?
Man, anytime I could see a halfway decent movie with a whole bunch of black folks, it's a win. But but this movie was dope for a number of reasons, as you stated, the music side of it, the art side of it, photography, the poetry. And Chicago is a dope city. I'm from the Midwest anyway, so just the way they captured the different scenes and everything was real dope.
All right, no doubt. And me, I was 22 when this came out. I was 22. Like Britt said, it was a day movie with me and my girl at the time. I went to see it because I'm a Nia Long fan. It was kind of like wherever Nia goes. It was like back when you see DJ produced by Premier. It's like I don't even need to know the name of the group. I'm gonna listen to it. That's what it was. And it's weird because I, like Porsche said, I can't stand romantic movies. I'm like, yo, these are the worst. I was the least romantic dude you could have ever known in my college and marital years. Like, I wasn't in there. And then poetry, I hated poetry. Like, I hate that poetry jam. Like, hell for me would be having to listen to poetry for eternity. You know what I mean? So it was bug because I kind of went to the movie like this, and I mean, I loved it from the door. I loved every single thing about it. Being 97 and being 22, like, I was still kind of learning game. Not to say like I didn't know how to kick game, but like I used a lot of them lines from Love Jones later on. You know, like you know what I mean? Different things like that. You know, I definitely get how in 2014 it can seem unrealistic. You know, like he's getting a number off a check. Like nobody has a check anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but at those times, like it was like, you know, okay. Or now, if some dude shows up at your house, you're like, there is no come on in and, you know, I brought you a CD or whatever like that. So I definitely get how people can see that, you know, it's not realistic. But yeah, I love the movie from beginning to end. It was one of those things for even doing this show, I didn't even think I had to rewatch it because I know so much of it damn near by heart. But it was kind of like just watching it again today. It's just like, God, this movie is good. So yeah, that's dope there. So B, tell me this. Who was your favorite character in the movie and why?
It was the friend, Nia's friend. I can't remember her name.
Josie.
Yeah, she like gave her opinion on stuff, but then she kind of backed up, like, you can take it if you want, but not on me. Like, she just was like the laid back character, and like I thought Nia was okay. I mean, there wasn't any characters that I was like, oh, I really really liked them, but I could kind of relate more to that character because she's more laid back. I'm that way. And Nia was too all over the place for me.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Brent? Who was your favorite character and why?
I was gonna say Josie as well.
Okay.
I liked her. She was very real, and she kind of lived through Nina, where Nina was just like all over the place. And I kind of can relate to being Josie, that friend. So yeah.
Okay. I see the two B's got a lot in common tonight. Y'all right there with each other. Porsche, what about you?
My favorite character is I think his name's Eddie Coles. I think he's like the bald headed dude. Yeah. He also says my favorite quote of the movie, but he's the most like rational and logical dude. And although like women have this thing of being irrational and emotional, I tend to be that person to my friends. So I'm usually the one who's able to sort of bring people down and sort of, I think the friend, like what is her name? Josie? Yeah, she instigates games. I don't like that. I hate that. We'll talk about it, I guess, when we talk about scenes and stuff. But Eddie Coles is my favorite because he seems to be the most simple, like straightforward dude. No games, no bullshit. He's just sort of there. So that's why.
Yo, that's funny because I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard anybody pick him as their favorite character. In fact, I didn't even know dude's name. Like I had to Google like Love Jones cast just to figure out what dude's name was. So that's interesting that you see it like that. What's up with you, Vern?
Savon Garrison, man. Number one, for a number of reasons. Relatability. He was the only cat in the crew that was married. Mind you, like I said, I was months married when I saw this.
Yeah, true.
So I was one of the first people in my crew to get married. His level-headedness, but also he, like, as they stated about Josie, you know, he kicked game or whatever, but he lets you make your own decisions. So that's my favorite character.
All right, no doubt. And the funny thing is when I first saw the movie, it was Darius. You know, that was my favorite character. You know what I mean? You know, I loved his, you know, the way he interacted, the game he had. He was like always being able to come off the top. But as I've gotten older now, I'm with Vern, and Vaughn is my favorite character just for the simple fact that, and we'll get into it later, but this dude dropped so much knowledge.
Yes, he did.
And at the time when I saw it, again, I've got a girlfriend, but you know, I'm doing my thing on the side. I'm you know, being a knucklehead. So the last thing I wanted to hear was advice about how to keep a relationship going or marriage or anything like that. So at that time it was Darius, but as I've gotten older and the more I watch the movie, the stuff that he talks about is so important. You know what I mean? And so deep. So tell me this, B, what was one of your favorite scenes? And if you got more than one, you can spew them off, but what's one of your favorite scenes?
So I got two. When he does the poem to Nina in the club the first time, I thought that was like super dope. Like even the way they capture it, the anesthetics of the whole club and just the atmosphere, I thought was really cool. And well, of course, what he was saying, that was hot too. And then the second one, I think it'd be when they were in a cab. It was her, Nina and Josie, and they were kind of going back. Because she was telling her, like, oh, you smashed on the first date? Like, the cab driver was looking at her like, it was like funny. Like, that was like comical. And then, like, she was talking about like what it was like, and Josie was like just staring at her. I was like, this is hilarious. Like, who does this? So those are probably my two. Oh, and then the third would be when, like after she came back from New York, they went on a date, they went dancing, and then she told him to sleep on the couch. And he's like, are you dope? That was funny.
All right.
That was, dudes would be like, yeah. And then she was mad dumb too, talking about, I want to like restart. Really, you slept with him on the first date.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what? A lot of times people have that restart. You got to do a do-over. You know what I mean? You got to try to do a do-over. But that's interesting. Britt, what about you? What's some of your favorite scenes?
So the first scene, it's a quick scene. It's in the beginning where she's getting on his motorcycle. She's just holding him tight. And it's because like in her facial expression, she looks so sure about like who she's with and like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, even though I promise, one of my favorite quotes, I think we'll get there later, but she was saying not to fall in love. It's played out like an 8-track, right? Mm-hmm. And so she kind of gains her independence. And so I felt like when she was on the back of the bike with Darius, that she felt like she was sure of herself. The second scene is the dating dancing scene where they're doing like the two-step.
Right.
I related to that scene because I dated somebody from the Midwest and he taught me how to two-step. And I thought that was so cute. And dancing is not a thing that many folks maybe our age do as a date. And so again, with the times of this movie, I really enjoyed that. And I think that's really my like top two favorite scenes.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Porsche?
Actually, that scene, the date scene, where it was like the real date scene. Mm-hmm. I love that because it just seemed so wholesome, and it seemed like that was when you could see the connection on screen, like as the characters or whatever. And I just loved it. They genuinely looked like they had a good time. It wasn't anything weird or, like it was wholesome fun, and you could tell that they were both enjoying each other's company. And I think that that's sort of lost its way now, more so than it did back then. And then my second favorite scene is towards the end when Nina reads her poetry on stage. And I think that just shows tremendous growth in her, and I appreciated that. So I liked it.
No doubt. It's funny to me, the scene that y'all talking about, the second date, in my opinion, was so dope about that was that this is after the whole hoopla with her and Woods, Bill Bellamy's character. It's kind of like, we really want to be together now. You know what I mean? And you could kind of almost see the turn in them of saying, okay, like Darius being like, okay, I really dig her, and Nina being like, okay, I know it ain't nothing going on with Marvin no more, so I dig him. And it's kind of like, to me, it shows the difference between dating somebody who you want to be with versus just kicking it. You know what I mean? And because the first couple of dates they were just kicking it. You know what I mean? And I feel like this was the date of where it's like, I'm feeling you, you feeling me. Let's make this official. Because it was kind of like after that date, that's when you saw them hanging out and cigarettes and doing all the running and all those great things that they were doing, was once they figured out like we want to be with each other. So Yeah, that's definitely dope. Vern, what about you?
So I'll narrow it down to like 3 or 4. First one, the scene where Wood and Darius are at the club and they kind of they throwing shade at each other. You know, yeah, I just been putting in work. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've been working the hell out of it. And then you know he's like, yeah, well I'm working my job now. And Darius like, yeah, you know, but the difference between you and me is I usually quit, you get fired. So that's one. For whatever reason, this scene, I love it because I love what he said. You stomping around out here like somebody that stole your bike. I love that one. Third one, when Savannah and Darius was at the pool hall, and Darius like on some, you know, I don't get stole on, you know, acting all hard like he wasn't feeling it, but he was really feeling it. And you can see the reaction on Von's face because he knows what that is like. But you know, Darius ain't mature enough to admit it. And then the last one and the most poignant one to me is when Von's family came back. There were no words spoken, but just the relief on his face. And when you think you lost something and it comes back, I can relate to that. Yeah, that one hit home. Yeah,
that's dope, man. That's dope. Man, yeah. I mean, it's so many scenes. One of my scenes that I think a lot of people don't really talk about too much is when Darius and Ed were on the beach and he was talking about his ex. He was saying, you know, that's the one who got away. Like, you know, I was too busy trying to be a player or whatever like that. And the reason why that stands out to me now is because a lot of times with couples, you know, wives will ask, and I don't think a lot of women have thought about it like this. Like, wives have asked me, you know, a lot of exes have come up for different husbands or their men or things like that. And what I was explaining to them is that a lot of times with women, you guys sometimes do the breaking up because something we did wrong. You know what I mean? So you guys made that decision. Whereas with some men, and I never want to say all, and if I do, you know, forgive me, I mean some men, we mess up and then we have that regret for the rest of our lives. So when we're later in a relationship and things aren't going right, we kind of think back to like, damn, what would have happened if I would have stayed with Shorty? So many times with women, we hurt you all, which is why you broke up with us. So you may not even think about whatever happened with Shorty because like, yo, forget about dude, yo, he broke my heart, whatever. So when he was sitting there on the beach just explaining to him like, yo, you know, that's the one who got away and, you know, you only get 2. And, you know, and Ed was like, 2 what? He was like, you know, true loves. You know what I mean? So that just always stood out to me because I think so many people, and I would love to ask the younger generation, like Britt, do you believe in true love? Do you think there's that soulmate that's out there? What's the thinking of the new generation?
The new thinking of our generation is everything is so instant, right? So if I don't like you within like 3 or 4 days or even one day, like next, okay, swipe right, go on Twitter, use the apps, Cupid, whatever there is available. I do personally believe in true love because I've seen my parents. They've been married 20 something years. They've, you know, had their stuff. They're not perfect, but they've worked through it, and I've seen what like true love looks like, and they're my example. So I personally, from my experience, even with my young age, still believe in true love.
That's dope. That's dope. What about you, B?
Let's see. I think it exists, but now it's harder to find because, like, everybody's in this I don't want to be hurt thing. So it's like I'd rather just close myself out or be guarded. So that's why like hookup culture is kind of bigger now. And of course we have the apps to do that because nobody wants to exchange emotion. They just want that quick fix and keep it moving. Mm-hmm. Or we can just have a situationship. Like we can kick it. You can do you. I can do me. But at the end of the day, we like are together, but we're not together. So, which is complicated because that doesn't make sense. So I think it's possible, but I think now it's harder, especially with technology, because you can really the face-to-face connections aren't there anymore. Guys, they think that they can establish a relationship with a woman through text. To me, it's disturbing. But anyways, Yeah, so I think it's possible, just small Detroit.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Porsche?
I think it definitely. I'm a hopeless romantic. I believe in love. I believe in love in its most purest form. But I think that because of exactly what Britt and B mentioned, because of technology, because of this the apps that work as, perpetuate this thinking of quick and instant, we're getting farther and farther away from that. And it's sad. It's super sad because, I mean, even in hip hop, like there's so many songs that are just so sweet and cute, and like Fab is like notorious for those ones, right? And I hold on to those and I love those, and that's why I love movies like Love Jones so much, is because it's like it reminds you that it still exists. I believe in soulmates, but I don't believe that there's one soulmate. I believe that of the 7 billion people in the world, there's probably 700,000 soulmates, and you're gonna find one, kind of thing. So that's what I think.
All right, no doubt. So that was my thought about that one scene. The other scene that I love is when they're at the get together and Vaughn comes in with his homegirl and not his wife. Mm-hmm. And just the conversation between Darius and him, when he tell him, I guess we can go into the quotes. He says, "When you get your wife, yes, that's when you can advise me on mine."
Yes, sir.
And I wrote an article. I used to write for Black and Married with Kids, and I wrote this article about why married folks should not take advice from single folk. You know what I mean? And my biggest thing was, and I've had single people get at me and they get mad, but it's like, Vern, your daughters play basketball. If any of you watch basketball, there's a big difference between the NCAA and the NBA. Mm-hmm. You can be a beast in college basketball, get to the pros, and flame out. So even though we're both in a relationship, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's a whole nother level to this marriage shit and dating stuff. And somebody be like, well, Kill, basketball is basketball. College people are bigger in the NBA. They faster. They're stronger. The stakes are higher. And it's the same with marriage, So I always tell single folk, you can tell me what I'm doing wrong, but I don't do advice from single folk. So that always stood out for me. And then the one that stood out for me, that to me is like life changing, life altering. This goes against races, whatever. When he says, y'all running around here, jumping, hopping, skipping, diving, falling in love and shit. Somebody talk to me, please, about how to stay there.
Yes, sir.
And that's the biggest thing. And it's the biggest thing that I deal with when dealing with married couples or even engaged couples is everybody wants to fall in love. But the problem is nobody teaches you how to have a relationship. You know what I mean? Like when I came home, when you think about it, from the most smallest act, you have to learn. I don't care what you want to do with your life. You want to be a doctor, lawyer, janitor, whatever, bus driver, you have to learn. But to me, one of the most important things, having a relationship, is just something that we're not taught. Maybe it's just me, but when I came home with my first girlfriend in 7th grade, introduced her to my mom, it was like, all right, cool. There was no, okay, Kill, let me sit down, let me explain to you how you should treat her, or X, Y, Z. My pop damn sure didn't say, this is how you should treat her. So it's just a situation where we're all out here, and the reason so many marriages fail and relationships fail is because we don't know what we're doing. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. Almost like, Vern, if you ask me to change your oil, your car, bro, your car is not going to get you very far. It's not.
So that's why, man, you boys, because, bro.
Yeah. So that's why that always stood out for me, because we really, one of the things I'm doing with Naomi, she's about to turn 13, and I took her on a date, because we always hang out all the time, but I was like, no, this is going to be a date. This is going to be a daddy-daughter date. I was like, I'm going to pick you up. We're going to go to movies. I'm going to show you how this works. Do you want popcorn, everything? We sit down in the movie theater. Everything is good. We're going to see Ice Age. 12 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. The movie theater is packed. It's packed. And To the left of me is a young white couple, probably like 15, 16, and it's the sisters. She also has a little sister with her who looks to be around 10, and the lights go down and everything. And I'm hearing something, and I look over, and she's giving dude head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's giving dude head. Like, I'm like, yo, what the? And she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I'm just like, yo, what is your mentality? This is a kid movie. This is Ice Age. This is like Ice Age 12 o'clock. Like,
Let it
the Dark Knight at the 10:45 Dark Knight movie, and you all the way in the back, and can't nobody see you. Like, and then on top of that, your little sister's right there.
Yeah.
So your little sister is seeing everything that you're doing. And the thing that she was saying to the boy is, remember who will do this for you. And to me, that was just showing that, reminding him, them other chicks who like you, they ain't gonna give you no head in the movie theater. Like, I'll do this for you. And luckily, Nay was just, this we ain't even got past the previews yet. So she's just in a big bag of popcorn, and she didn't see anything. But again, like I said earlier, I don't take anything for a coincidence. I don't take it for a coincidence that the day I decide to go on a daddy-daughter date and teach my daughter how a man is supposed to treat you, that I see that. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things that just is like, yo, this is where we're at. So, we have to teach our kids how to be in relationships. We have to teach. I work with teens. Y'all know that half my time is spent teaching them how to be in relationships. One of my kids came in, high school boyfriend, broke her heart. She was like, yo, fuck this. I'm messing with college dudes. I'm like, and you think that's going to be better? Like, she's in 10th grade talking about, I want to date somebody at Howard. I'm like, come on, like, this is not going to get better. And I had to make this whole visual aid for her to understand sex. And yeah, you think you just having sex with him, but he having sex with these 5 girls, and these 5 girls having sex with these 6 girls. And it just, to get her to understand, in your mind, in your 15-year-old mind, you think you're having sex with one person when you're really having sex with 35. You know what I mean? And, that's why that quote always stands out to me, because we don't have people showing us how to be in relationships. We don't have people to show us how to love, and how to show love. It's kind of like we just do what we see in movies. We do what we see other people doing. The majority of couples who are my age are like, oh, Kill, we thought it was going to be like the Cosby Show. You know what I mean? And it's dope that Britt's family has been together that long. But for a lot of us, I really don't, there's nobody in my family who's still married. You know what I mean? So that's like that piece. So a lot of us had to look to TV to see what a real couple is supposed to be like. And at the end of the day, it's still written. I'm like, yo, Bill and I don't think Bill and Cliff, what's the name? Cliff and Claire. I don't think they ever argue. I don't know if we ever really seen them argue. We talk about a doctor and a lawyer. They always home. Like, I don't know no lawyer. I got a homeboy, a lawyer. He ain't never home. So you home all the time. And, no matter how many kids come back, they don't argue about money. So if that's what you think marriage is supposed to be, then it gets tainted and it gets messed up. But so those are 2 of my favorite quotes. B, what's one of your favorite quotes in the movie?
Oh, let's see. I mean, for me, it was kind of like, it was more so the scenes. I didn't hear anything that was like, oh, that's particularly, because I don't think when I watch a movie, I don't look for like specific pieces. I look for the entire scene, but that's probably because I do videography and screenwriting, so I just I don't get caught up in one word. I get caught up in, okay, that word builds up to this, which builds up to that. I didn't really have one where I was like, oh, that's because pretty much Darius throughout the whole thing's got lyrics for days. I was like, I need to study him.
Right.
That's good stuff right there. So a lot of his lines, I think out of everybody, like you said, the guy that was married, he had a different perspective. His was more of a, I guess you could say, a grown folks perspective. So his narrative, I thought was interesting too. So there was a lot of quotes to pick from him, but really it's between him and Darius if you're gonna go through notable quotes, favorite lines, stuff like that, because they had the best narratives between the 2.
Yeah, no doubt. The writing for this movie was bananas too.
Very.
The writing was stupid. Britt, what about you?
So I said the first one about the falling in love is played out like an 8-track. And the second one is the famous one where they're in the rain. He's like about urgency. So I can't quote it word for word, but I'm sure everybody knows which one I'm talking about. How it's urgent like a mother.
All right, that's dope. And why? So what makes that stand out to you?
So I think, they were just done playing games. Well, Darius and Nina, both of them, were just done playing games. Like this whole, I'm gonna chase you, through the train station, or this whole back and forth. And just him saying, you know what, like, this is urgent right here, right now. I'm present in this moment. And she's worried about, like, what's gonna happen in the future. And he's like, we'll figure it out. Like, this is what it is right now. And I think, like, sometimes we don't, like, I'm a forward thinker. I'm always thinking, like, okay, what am I going to be doing 2 years from now with this person, 3 years from now? I always like to think long term. But sometimes I think it's good to just be in the present and figure all that stuff out later. So I really like that scene a lot.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Porsche?
My favorite quote is from Eddie Coles, the most random character.
Go on it, man.
Honestly, in the whole movie, the only thing that I took away from it was what this dude said. And he said, love is what you make and with who you make it. And I think that is honestly so brilliant. It's brilliant because I think people think that, my experience is that some people in relationships just think that, if it's not working out, then it's just not going to work out. There's no accountability and there's no piece of, like, you have to work towards it. Like, love is not something that it's wild to me that people think you're two strangers coming together and there's going to be this magical thing called love, like, right away. It's so bizarre. Like, that's just so left field for me. Love is definitely, it's a verb. Like, you have to, like, it's something you gotta build on all the time, every single day. And so that one quote to me I think to me, that's probably what the deciding factor was for Darius in the first place. It's brilliant. It shows accountability. It shows work. It shows effort. It shows, like, all of that. Everything is under that umbrella. So that's the one that just sort of stuck out and kind of shined in the whole movie for me.
But you know what the bug thing is, Porsche, is that I think most people think like that because that's what I thought. You just fall in love and it just works. You know what I mean? It's like,
I'm lucky. Like, my parents have been together like 40 years now, and they come from two. So my dad's side of the family is Muslim. He's atheist. My mom is religious. She's a Baha'i, and this is, like, so bizarre in Persian culture, kind of. And so I saw a lot of, like, effort and compromise from both of them. And so for me, it was like, that was never a thing. Like, thinking that love just existed. It was never something that was ever instilled in me. I mean, Disney sort of takes people. I think Disney's to blame, to be honest. But that's a different show.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna talk about that for a minute. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's so. I think when people don't pay attention to relationships and they don't take note of what people are doing inside of the relationships that they see, that's when it gets skewed. That's what I think.
It is good that you were able to see that because I see Brittany agreeing with you too. And I think when I first got married, one of my homeboys, one of my best friends, he had got married after me, and he was like, him and his wife were going through it, and he was like, my parents never argued. And I'm like, what happened? Like, I'm like, no, bro, you never saw them argue. But this is a 27-year-old man who's telling me, no, my parents never got into an argument. You know what I mean? Based off of, so it's really about, what you see, what you're privy to, and things like that. Because I do know grown folk, not just teenagers who think love is just supposed to be there, but, grown folk my age. I've coached couples who are like, well, I thought, this marriage is supposed to be perfect. And I'm like, well, what else in your life is perfect?
Yeah.
And it's like nothing, but there's this, and I was in New York once, and me and T were watching this comedian, and I thought he broke this down better than any marriage counselor I've ever went to. He said the reason why marriages are so messed up because men and women both are we think it's supposed to be what we saw in the movies. So for a lot of women, for not all but some, you know, they saw the Disney movies. You're constantly seeing these, the prince coming to save you, and here comes the prince. So you're seeing these love movies. The people in the bottle. Somebody wrote a note in the bottle, and they're gonna find the bottle. Or, you know, it's just always this beautiful setting, and the man comes in. So women are expecting that. And he's like, and men, we grew up watching porn, so we are supposed to be porn stars 25. So when we come to the relationship or to the marriage, both of our visions are skewed based off of what media showed us. Two different types of media, but we're thinking it's supposed to be like this. Y'all think it's supposed to be like that. Both of us are like, this is whack. This is what I signed up for. And then we try again. You know what I mean? But a lot of us never take the time to really take that time out to figure out what went wrong, you know, or what was my faults and what was her faults and things like that. So I feel you on that. Vern, what about you? What's some of your favorite scenes?
All right, I wrote down 5, and I'll kind of say them and then tell you why.
I'm sorry, we were on quotes. My bad.
Yeah, quotes. Yeah, okay. Nina said it's funny that you can do it in front of a room full of people, but that you can't even seem to do it in front of one person. I think social media, Instagram, Twitter, has us telling the highlight reel to people like, y'all my folks. Me and you talk or whatever. But if I can't say that stuff to my wife, to my daughters, to people that I really love, then what have I got? And I think a lot of times we can express ourselves, but not to who it really matters. So that one stuck out to me. Let me see it. People with profound insights on life know not to get married. And those that do ought to know that marriage is what you make it. So that goes back to what Portia was saying. Darius said, I learned a long time ago never to ask a question that I don't want to know the answer to. And that's a mantra that I practice in my life. Last 2 tie into really why I love this movie and how I try to live my life. Nina said, all we have, Marvin, is all these years. And that's just not enough for me anymore. So many people I know are in relationships because they're in relationships. All they have is all these years. And it takes so much more than all these years. It takes so much more than the kids, the dog, the trip to the Bahamas. It's so much more than that. And then the last one, I put something on this on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. He said, romance is about the possibility of a thing. When people who have been together a long time say that the romance is gone, what they're really saying is they're exhausted the possibilities. You hear a lot of people saying, we just grew apart. Right? Well, the same way that you grew apart is the same way that you could grow together if you put the effort and the energy and the work on it. And so we're in year 22 of our marriage. Our daughter is a senior in college. For the last several years, our grandson had been living with us, but he's back with his mom and stuff. So it's just me and my wife. And I put it on Instagram. It's so dope now that I'm rediscovering my wife and learning different things about her and her with me. And we're becoming friends again. And that's not just something that's happening by default. It's planned. It's, hey, let's go for a walk. Hey, let's go on a date. I told my grandson, I'm taking Mimi out on a date. And he said, Poppy, you can't take Mimi out on a date. You're married. That's a double date. And now that's a 7-year-old said that. But how many people that have been married a long time date and really consciously do that? So if you don't do those things, if you don't keep exploring the possibilities, then you will grow apart. So that's my soapbox message.
Nah, brother, and that's huge. And I think, but that comes back to what we were talking about earlier: is the work. You know what I mean? It's about who's really willing to work, for this goal. And is it a goal that we both have? Yep. If my goal is just to smash, then my goal is quickly obtained. You know what I mean? Versus, someone else's goal to kind of be, to be looking for a future. So I mean, I think that like you said, it's and a wise man once told me, I think it was Will Smith. Like I was about to say somebody told me. But he said something like, marriage is about a constant renegotiation. You know what I mean? And because I got married at 26, I'm 44. I'm not the same person I was at 26. My wife is not the same person she was at 26. So like you said, Vern, you have to be willing to get to know the new person, and there's going to be rough patches because it's going to be times that you don't like this new person.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But we got to come down to that renegotiating. We got to look at some things but again, these are things that were poured into me by counselors. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't anything that was just going to come to me just because I'm smart or whatever like that. You know, we had to be open and honest enough to say we need help and find the right people to give us help. You know what I mean? So I think that's huge too. Now tell me this. Where did y'all think this relationship went wrong? You know,
I can't wait to answer this.
But one of my favorite quotes was, "We're just kicking it."
Yes.
And I felt like a lot went wrong because we was just kicking it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's no commitment. There's no seriousness. So we're just kicking it. So B, where do you think this relationship went off the tracks?
See, that's that situationship stuff I'm talking about. It's like, we're not together, but I really don't want you to be anybody else. But we're just doing us. That doesn't, like, that's mixed.
What is that?
That's like indecisiveness. So then it's automatic conflict. It's gonna lead to an issue, and most of the time, it does. And either people finally get some sense and it's like, okay, let's try to do this relationship thing, or then they just stop dealing with each other. So, I feel like Nina was upfront about her situation. Like, she just got out of a relationship. She's not looking for anything serious. And Darius, as you know, I think more so. In the past, men aren't as, I would say, aggressive. Like, men that aren't, like, weirdos, unfortunately. No, if you think a lot of men that are very aggressive towards women aren't, like, the type of man that you'd be like, I'm going to take him home to mother. Like, that's, like, an older quality. Like, that used to be, like, being persistent with a woman used to be more common. It's actually more common for, like, people in their 40s. Like, that was a thing. People in, like, men my age bracket, being persistent is like, oh, you thirsty, or you're chasing her. Like, you don't need to do that. So it's like, there's no persistence. It's like, oh, she's not responding back to me quick enough. I'm just on to the next one.
So basically what you're saying is that there wouldn't have been the Darius of, yo, let me get her number, let me get this, let me buy the CD. That wouldn't happen nowadays.
Yeah, no. Because first of all, could you imagine a man coming to your door and you didn't give him any type of address?
Get the strap.
Pops would have been there.
Right. All right.
Which I mean, I don't know about that time, but was that an okay thing?
I mean, I don't know if it was okay. Like, I would have done it, but I'm not an aggressive person like that. But I just think it wouldn't have been looked at as bad as it is right now. You know what I mean? What do you think, Vern?
I would say it wouldn't be looked on as bad, but on the flip side of that, if I were in the game, I could have y'all a girl that I like whole life just by going on social media. I could know her favorite music, what she thinks about politics, her favorite foods. I could have my game plan already laid out. If I was that inclination. So yeah, I mean, it was a little foul, but it was different because it was a little bit more innocent, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think people were showing up at doors, but people were definitely getting phone numbers. Oh, give me her phone number. Give me his phone number. And everyone's like, oh, I got your phone number from so-and-so who got it from so-and-so who got it. Like, I remember that happening at school all the time.
Yeah.
Like, people would come into school and be like, oh, hey, so-and-so called me. Who gave him my number? And it was like, I don't know. And then the whole time you're trying to figure out how the hell did this dude get your phone number? So it did happen, maybe not with a gift and showing up to the door. I think that's just to kind of like help the movie go along, but it definitely happened in phone number form for sure.
Yeah.
And then you were calling the house. You weren't calling a cell phone. You were calling like the parents.
Yeah, man. My dad stepped on my game so many times. or calling a girl. Who are you? Who are your people? What are your intentions with my daughter? I'm like, dude, man, I just want to talk to her.
Yeah, it was funny. Me and my man would, and my man ain't have no license. We was 14 driving in Philly. And I was like always like shook, like, yo, what happens if we go in and we meet their father and he want to see your license? And you know, I'm coming from that mind state, like the father's gonna be like, okay, you're taking my daughter, let me see your license, let me see your insurance. And my man like, oh. And here's the wild part. He was like, dog, she don't even got a pop. Like, that's what, you know,
Damn.
Almost damn near every woman I dated, for the exception of my wife, didn't have a father around. You know what I mean? So, you know, I was able to do dumb shit like pull up to the crib and just beat the horn and she come out. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there was no man of the house, or even the mother wasn't like, oh no, you need to come in and you need to, you know, there wasn't, you just ain't beeping the horn and just my daughter come running out to you. But that's what I think shifted in a lot of households too, is that a lot of people didn't have a father, you know, or didn't have a father who was really in the picture to say, you know, you have to treat my daughter like this, or, you know, I was scared he wanted to search the car, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And it's like nowadays you ain't thinking nothing about that. You know what I mean? So again, I do think it was easier to kind of be, you know, more, you know, going after somebody if you really dug them. But, you know, yeah, like I said, I'm not showing up at nobody's crib. You know, I don't take rejection good. That's why I never did the club, because it'd be like me and Vern go to the club. You want to dance? Girl say no. Okay, Vern, time to go. I'm not the dude who gonna take the rejection and keep coming over. Okay, that was fun. Let's go. So, yeah. So, what about you, Britt? Did you where do you think the relationship went wrong?
I think this whole just kicking it, they didn't manage the expectations of their relationship, and I think that they should have been honest. So with themselves, right? So this whole thing of, I think Josie and Nina are talking about like, oh, Nina's trying to go to New York, and Josie's like, well, just like see if he cares, like playing this whole like mind game. I think Nina should have just made up her own mind as like, you know what, this is something I feel comfortable sharing with him, or I don't, but don't see it as an opportunity to think like, oh, this is going to be a way for me to see like how he really feels. Right. And also when I think Savon and Darius, they were talking about this whole her going to New York, and he was like, oh, I don't care, and trying to brush it off, or his feelings about brushing it off. He wasn't honest with himself. So I feel like between playing games to see who has like bigger balls, that's where they kind of messed up, and the lack of managing like the expectations around their relationship.
Right. No doubt. What you think, Porsche?
Much like Britt said, I think where it went sideways was when the friend, this is why I don't really like her, is because she gives her this like wild advice to go test a dude. Like I think that's like cardinal rule number 1. You don't test a dude because the outcome's never going to be good, ever. Like guys aren't stupid. They know when they're being tested. So I think that obviously when she's like, oh, so you don't care? And he was like, nah, that's exactly what I would have expected, because how is he going to turn around and be like, of course I care. Oh yeah, I care so much. Stop. I don't want you to, he's not going to do that. not in that setting anyways. So that's where it went left. I think it started with her testing this guy, and he did what a dude would do. I mean, yeah, like, it's easy to say, oh, he should have been honest, he should have done this, but the reality is he wouldn't have. No guy would have. Not in 97, not now, not anytime. So I think that's where it went left completely. I think if she just had been like, look, like Britt said, like she should have made up her own mind. She shouldn't have even asked him if he cares. She shouldn't have she framed it that way. She framed it like a test. Like when I saw it, I remember being like, dude, is she about to test this guy? Because that's not going to end well. And that's exactly how it played out. So that's where it went left.
Right. It's funny you say that, because like Britt was saying about both people being honest with themselves. And to me, to be in a serious, committed relationship, there has to be a certain level of maturity. And I think that a lot of times that's missing. And I don't mean maturity by age, because I know women who are 24 and who are 20 times more mature than women I know who are 40. So it's not by the age. But Vern, let me ask you, and then I'll get back to my point. Where do you think it went wrong?
Same area. Both Nina and Darius both were not brave enough to be vulnerable and be honest about how they really felt about somebody. You don't teach somebody you love a lesson. You know, that ain't how you do that. So pretty much the same thing everybody else has said. And I mean, if you love somebody, if you like somebody, you really care about somebody, don't let it go. I mean, I just thought about when I met my wife, we were working at the hospital. I was in medical records, and she was a nurse's assistant. And I kind of liked her, but I really never stepped to her like that. And then she went away for like 3 months, and I'm asking all the doctors, man, where is this person at? So when she finally came back, I grabbed it, like, here's my number, you gonna call me, and the rest is history. But all this game playing stuff is for the birds, and like Portia said, it ain't gonna end well. So, and in the movies, they got back together, but that's usually not the case.
Not how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
And also, one more thing, sorry, I forgot to say this, is that just the fact that Nina would consider going to New York to meet up with this dude that's the root of the issue in the first place, because I can see why her friend gave her that advice based on what she was already putting forth. I, like, personally, for me, there is no way in hell I am ever going to entertain having a conversation with an ex of mine. Ever. Like, when it's done, it is done and over with. Like, that person is not at all, they do not have access to me whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So just the fact that she would go in there and say, like, I gotta figure some things out. I was like, really, like, in her defense, she did say to the dude, to Darius, that things were complicated, or she shouldn't be getting involved. But at the end of the day, like, come on, like, you shouldn't have even entertained it in the first place. Like, New York should have never happened. That's just,
the wild part with you, Portia, is I have different personalities from different people's names. So, like, you're a Tanya. You're like my wife. Like, you're like clear cut, to the point. The X is an X. That's it. You're done. You're gone.
Yes.
I would probably beg to say the majority of women may not be that clear cut. Like, that it's like, I still love them. I still miss them. We were together for so long. I want to see if something's still there. Because keep in mind that they were engaged. Her and Marvin were engaged. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So this is somebody that you had basically said, yes, I will marry. I guess we really don't know what happened to break them up or whatever. But when he showed up at the door, and he was like, hey, here's a ticket. I want you to come visit me in New York. It's kind of that place of, okay, well, here's my past, where everything is safe, and here's my future. I don't know what that will look like. So I don't kind of know which one to bet on, which to me is why she went to Joseph. Like, yo, what do I do? Because I don't, I got two dudes who want me. And like, Britt said, about being mature is just being able to say, I think if Nina would have said, you know what, this is where we at. I'm feeling you, but I don't know where this is going. Old boy want me back. I'm really not even, I don't even know what that looks like. So if you say me and you got something, then I'm good and we good. And we could just
sure.
But
for someone who's not clear cut, sure, that should have been the way to do it. But I'm not somebody who can understand the mentality of keeping exes. And if you've broken up with someone, like, they should have zero access to you whatsoever. Like, zero. Like, I'm talking about relationships that don't obviously involve children. Like, come on.
Right.
Like, we're talking about just relationships. Yeah, I don't think, like, he should have never known where she lived. To me, like, if I was her, dude wouldn't have ticket. Nah, he wouldn't have even known where I lived. Forget it.
I thought magnificent. I thought. What you gonna say, Bar?
I'll tell you why they broke up. Because Marvin sucked at listening and he sucked at communicating.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you that is one of my favorite quotes. Did you eat the toasted oats? Did you eat the goddamn toasted? Oh, you could have ate the Captain Crunch. Like, I remember calling out in the movie at that part, because if you've been in a relationship, you feel like that. Like, goddamn, you really ate all the chips on. Like, you couldn't have ate them other shits, but you ate the chips on. So, but that's the thing, Thugnificent. We know. For other women who are out here, there's sometimes a struggle to get, not just women, for men. It's a struggle to get past, the ex. One of the few times I went to my mom for advice was after I broke up with my first when my first real girlfriend broke up with me. Was like, Mom, how do I get past this? Because I was lost. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm a 16-year-old kid. My girlfriend was 18. She was 2 years older than me. So it's like she was my first. I'm like, I don't know how to get past this. I don't want to see other dudes with it. So I literally had that. And I guess I had enough sense to know, let me not go ask my old heads, because I know they're going to just tell me go smash somebody else. Like, it was like, I got to ask my mom, like, yo, Mom, how do you get over this? And she was kind of like, you just got to, like, you can't think about her. You kind of just got to focus on you. But I don't know how many other guys at 16 would have went and asked their mother, like, how do I get over this heartache? You know what I mean? So there are people who it does take time and everything like that. One of my favorite pastors, Jeffrey Johnson, this cat from Indianapolis, he was saying that people make stuff up, so I don't know if this is 100% true, but he was saying that like when you're trying to get somebody out your system, like it takes 30 days. So it's kind of like you get this guy out your system for 30 days, but if he pops back up on the 28th day, you got to start that 30-day thing all over. You know what I mean? Or if you accept that call, on the 28th day, like one of my homegirls just got out of jail, and I'm asking her about her ex, and she was like, "Oh, he called me right here." I'm like, "Yo, block dude. Like, yo, why are we still talking about dude?" She was like, "Oh, well, I don't want to block her because she came up with 50 million reasons to not block him." And I'm like, "You don't need to say his name. You sitting here running my ear about this dude. Like, yo, dead dude." So there are a lot of people, not just women, everybody out there watching that. There are a lot of people who don't have Portia's thugnificent.
Sorry, it's bad business. It's bad business.
And it's funny because I always joke with Tanya. That's why none of your homegirls come to you for advice, because you can't understand how it feels to want to, miss somebody.
That's true. And my advice is block them.
Right.
Block them, delete them, delete conversations. Don't ever go just end it, because you can't move forward if you don't. But anyways, on top of aside from all this, just to the point of 30 days kill, I heard somewhere, I can't remember, probably from a movie, that guys take half the time of the relationship to get over it. So if the relationship was a year, the dude takes 6 months to get over it. The girl takes twice as long. So the girl would take 2 years to get over it. That's just what I heard. I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
It could be true, but there is a process that we have to go to. And this is why I said earlier, it's about getting good advice. You know what I mean? So, my first year at Morgan, I was in a long distance relationship, and my roommate he was a hoe. He was banging everybody. So I'm like, well, I don't need to go to you for advice. I need to find somebody who was also in a long distance relationship. Because if I'm like, yo, man, I miss my girl, he gonna be like, dog, we have Morgan. There's 25 girls to every one dude. Like, why are you worrying about? But so you got to find the right person to come to. And I think Josie was just like, you just gonna have to teach him a lesson. You know what I mean? I think that's what she said. You gotta teach him a lesson, which, like you said, Portia, isn't gonna end well. But again, if you're not mature enough and everything like that, and what I teach a lot of my teen girls is, I forgot who said it, if it was Vern or Britt, about being vulnerable. And the hard part about it is that some women, we're vulnerable enough to have sex with, but we're not vulnerable enough to share our feelings with. And it's like, to me, that's backwards. It's like, I need to be able to trust that I can tell you, this is where I'm at with old boy. This is what I'm feeling with you. I should be able to tell you that, especially if I've already given you something. But I think the value of sex has been, especially nowadays, has been so thrown out the window. I forgot this point. When Love Jones first comes on and Nina has the wife beater on in the window and she ain't have on no bra and her nipples were showing, I remember the movie theater going crazy. Like, it was like, oh shit, she got a nipple showing. Like, that was 97. Like, nowadays, that's nothing, because we see that every day on IG. But in 1997, you would have thought she was nude or something like that. So when you're really looking at the times and how times have changed, like, that would be absolutely nothing. Like, you wouldn't even think to even say, oh my gosh, she's got a nipple showing. Like, that's nothing nowadays, so I think so much has changed. But yeah, it's crazy. So tell me this, what do we give? One more quick question before we go into the soundtrack. I don't want to hold y'all. Do you think Woods was messed up for going after Nina?
Man, come on.
I know, but I'm just asking. Like, one thing,
foul as hell. Foul as hell. And
that's the first part of the
foul
question.
as hell.
But was Nina wrong?
Yeah.
For going out with Woods?
Yeah.
Hell
Hey, what
yeah.
do you
Hell
think?
yeah.
Man, that's law number one.
All right, we gonna get
Like, pretty much. So it was spiteful on her end, and the dude, that was like a pissing match between him and the other dude, which to me, that's like what insecure men do. Like, that's just, I don't understand how people go through that internally. But clearly, guys insecure. She's being spiteful. Bad recipe.
All right, no doubt. What you think, Britt?
Stay away from best friends or friends in general. Stay away from the crew.
Yep.
Good rule to live by. Porsche, what about you?
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with that. Like, I think there's so many things wrong. Like, I think obviously he's wrong because I'm sure I'm not a dude, but I'm sure that violates every single rule in the bro code book or whatever it is. There you go. Vern's got it. And then on her part, like, I think it's foul as hell because, like, you can argue that she's the one that should respect what they had, right? So I think as a respectful woman, you don't do that to the dude you clearly still like. Like, that is beyond me. Like, I can't compute that in my brain. How to even put myself, I would never be in that situation in the first place, where the dude's friend would feel comfortable enough to ask me to go to dinner, let alone me accepting to go to dinner. Like, that shit would never happen with me. So when I saw that scene, I was like, yo, what is happening right now? Like, I was like, no, she's not. Like, I'm talking to the TV. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not going with him. And then they're sitting at the dinner table. I'm like, are you for, like, yeah. So I had a hard time with that scene. I thought it was absolutely disgusting on both their parts. And yeah, I mean, that just obviously is to magnify and show the confusion and mess and complication of their relationship. But I didn't like it at all.
I feel you, Thugnificent. That shouldn't. But here's the thing. I thought, of course, it was foul, but I almost felt like it was kind of like payback. You know, I felt like maybe Nina was saying, I came back, I left dude, I'm looking for you, and I see you walking down the street hugged up with some next shorty. You know what I mean?
Bruh.
And maybe it didn't start off that way. And I could be wrong. Like I said, this is just my thought that it was like, you know, a little bit of payback. Because when they showed up at the other homegirl's party, and as soon as she saw Darius was there, you know, she left. You know, so she kind of knew, like, you know, damn, you know, this is messed up. But yeah, I thought it was foul. What were you gonna say, Vern?
Like Ghostface said, you don't get your man back like that. But, but so if I saw what's my man Bill Bellamy, I might give him a 2-piece just on principle, man. You know, you just do not do that. And then the funniest part about it is the hypocrisy of Nina trying to, you know, when they were out arguing and everything, it's like, you know, you was with some girl, but you trying to say I'm foul. You came with my boy and then talking about I didn't know y'all was gonna come to the party. It don't matter where we are. That's my man. He in my clique. But again, I got a problem with him being in the clique because he was shady the whole movie. So yeah, that's just violations all the way around, man.
All right. And one more quick question. One of the things that you all said was that, you know, they weren't vulnerable. They weren't being honest. I said they weren't mature. Here's the thing that I've learned in life. And I used to fight it when I was like in my 19s and 20s, that women are more mature than men. Now, of course, at 44, y'all are way fucking more mature than we will ever be. But how do you feel? Because what we all kind of said was Nina had to be the one. And of course, Nina was the one who had the ex come. But how do you guys feel like? Do you guys feel like you have to be the mature one? Do you guys feel like, you know, number one, do y'all even agree with that? Y'all may believe men are just as mature as you all are, you know, which I just don't think they are. But so do you believe that? And two, are you willing to, if you're getting in a relationship, to be, I guess, the mature one, maybe in the beginning? B, what about you?
Well, see, that's what makes this movie so unique, because usually it's Darius. Well, Nina was the messy one. That never happens. When can you think of a movie where the woman's the messy one? Usually it's completely the guy's fault. So that's what makes it so unique. But to the question you posed. Yeah,
do you think women are more mature than men? And if you...
It all depends. Because I've seen women that like really lack maturity.
And keep in mind, I'm talking about like same age. So like if you're 22 and you're dating somebody that's 22, you know, do you feel like this dude is going to be on the same level?
No.
All right. And
there are some women that are on the same playing field as men, but they're a real small percentage. But I've actually, because I used to think like women are always, until I started meeting some, and I was like, there's some women that are really disturbing. So
right. I got you, but we're talking like majority. We're talking majority.
Yeah, majority.
Are you willing to be the mature, and kind of going into that understanding that, are you willing to be the more mature person, knowing that you kind of gotta almost damn near teach the dude the stuff?
He's gotta be sort of close. It can't be too far off for me.
All right.
I feel like every day, like I feel like I don't know. I personally couldn't deal with that. But he's gotta be close where it's like a give or take. Like one day I'm the student, one day he's the teacher, vice versa. Because like certain experiences he may have, I might not have had yet, and certain vice versa. So I need more close to an equal balance, but I don't mind being a little bit higher.
Right. And I'm asking that because just like I think a lot of women, even like my student who was in 10th grade, who was like, I gotta date older guys, older guys will get it, so you'll sometimes see somebody who's 24 with somebody who's 34, because and they'll be like, oh, guys my age don't, they don't know how to treat a woman, What about you, Britt?
So the first question, I do think women are more mature than men. The second question, I found myself always being the mature one and doing the emotional labor. I'm done with doing emotional labor moving forward, but I've always been that person to be the mature one. This is how you communicate your feelings. This is everything we talk about is not an argument. I'm coming to you to say, hey, this doesn't make me feel good when you do this. It's not an argument. Or hey, what this is how we should do this, or what are your thoughts on this? So that has been my experience, but no more emotional labor. I'm not doing it because I'm not getting paid for it, so no.
There you go. I like that strike. Porsche, what about you?
I think if you had asked me this question like a couple years ago, my answer would have been totally different, but I don't think it's gender based anymore. I used to think that women were like, before I probably would have been like, hell yes, women are more mature, but now I think with just my own personal, I guess, growth or understanding or whatever, I don't think there is a difference between the genders. I do think it's individual based. So I think that there will be some dudes that are going to be more mature at whatever age, and some dudes that are going to be super immature at an older age. Like, I don't think it's dependent on the gender so much as it is on the person and their personal experiences and where they're at in their life. Do I think that I'm the more mature one? I mean, sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not. Again, it's not really that clear cut for me. I've done some wild petty shit, and I'm not proud of it at all. But it's, you learn, and the other person hasn't, and then you're just kind of like, yikes, like, okay, I got to check myself, So, but I do think that there's an ability in women, in maybe some women, majority of women, I don't want to say all, who can express emotion and feelings better than most men can, or some men can. And I'm usually the one that is more expressive in that regard in all of my experiences, which aren't that many, but anyway, so I think that in some cases it calls for the woman to be a little bit more, I don't want to say mature, but just a little bit more forward. And in some situations it calls for the man to be a little bit more forward, in whatever case. So
right. Now, I feel what you're saying. I think a great point that you make is just dealing with, kids. The hard part is that a lot of times, I see mothers, tell sons as young as 3, like, don't cry, you're the man of the house, and, don't do this. So there's only so many times you can be told, don't cry, and don't talk, and don't do this. You know what I mean? Because from doing all this marriage coaching, I find out most of the problems come from people's childhoods. You know what I mean? And
yes.
So, if you and I are dating, you're coming from a 2-parent house that have been together, for forever. I'm coming from the total opposite. So, you're bringing these opposites together. So, I just think a lot of times that falls in place too. So tell me this: how many mics are we giving Love Jones? 5 mic source rating. B, how many mics are we giving Love Jones?
We're giving them 4.
4 mics.
Yep, 4 mics. It wasn't like there were some things, I guess, because I'm looking at it from a place now where I feel like it's not realistic. But I think they could have made it a little bit realer in certain areas, and I think that's what kind of lacks specifically in romantic movies, especially Black movies, is it's a little, it like lack realism. So it's like we need to see our stories, like literally our stories on screen, so that we can relate and understand. Like everybody goes through these things.
Right.
Sometimes they make it too fantasy, and it's like that's not how it goes. So.
All right. What about you, Britt? How many mics you giving it?
Can I do 4.5?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so 4.5.
1.5 is mic rating.
I know, sorry. I think, like B had mentioned, like the realistic, like part of it, and so just to be clear, are we talking about the soundtrack?
No. We're talking about
the movie, right? Okay. When are we getting to the soundtrack?
We're about to right now. I don't want to. Okay. It's coming.
My phone is like dying. That's
right.
Sorry, guys. Okay. So 4.5. I like the love story. I love Black love stories. I especially like the scenes where they're saying stuff like Black people, sister, brother, all that stuff. I'm very pro-Black, so love it. I loved the back and forth between Nina and Darius because it made it a little interesting. And I think sometimes we can relate to love stories like that. So I loved it. Nice. I just want to see the end. That's why I want to know. I gave it a 4.5 because I want to know like what happens at the end. Do they actually like move in together? What happens there?
Oh,
I guess that's
you mean like
yeah, because I'm
looking for part 2. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through this before Britt phone died. Porsche, how many mics?
I give Love Jones a 4. Solid 4.
All right, and Vern, what about you?
Strong 4.
All right, no doubt. I give it a 5. I think it's the dopest Black love story, especially for my generation. Old heads talk about Sparkle and, of things like that. That's before me, so I got to roll with Love Jones. Soundtrack, Britt, before your phone dies, favorite song off the soundtrack?
Miss Lauryn Hill. I know she's late to everything, but I love her. I saw her twice. So The Sweetest Thing, it's one of my favorite songs from her, and so it was obviously featured in the closing credits. And then there's one song, I think it's called Hopeless, that keeps playing by two or three times, which I like, but I'm always gonna go for Miss Lauryn Hill.
All right, no doubt. How many mics do you give the soundtrack?
Ooh, out of 5?
Yeah.
I would say 5. I liked it. I love like all the songs on it.
All right. Cool in the game. B, what about you?
So the only song that really mattered on there to me was Maxwell's Mellow Smooth something. That song. Woo. That's my jam right there. Now everything else. I mean, there was a few that are classics, like Duke Ellington songs. Like I can't knock those. But everything else I could have done without. And the era that it was created in, I think the soundtrack could have been better. Really, like that was the era where they created specific songs for the soundtrack. That seems like they just took a few and put it together. So, on the strength of Maxwell, I'll give it a 3.5.
On the strength of Maxwell. All right, what about you, Porsche?
Maxwell's Joint is my favorite. I love Maxwell. He's one of my favorites anyways. But I absolutely love this soundtrack. Mic rating, I give it a 4.5. I love this is one of my favorite soundtracks ever. So
all right, no doubt. What about you, Vern?
Pick 2 songs. One, I love Van Hunt as a songwriter. Him and Dion killed Hopeless. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite song on there is Coltrane, In a Sentimental Mood. I love the feeling that song gives. So that's my favorite joint, and I would say a 4.
All right, no doubt. For me, same thing. Oh God, I would go with The Sweetest Thing over the Maxwell joint, just because at that time, this is pre-Lauryn, this is miseducation. Mm-hmm. But no, B, don't do me like.
Nobody want to hear Lauren sing.
Don't do me dirty. But this is like when everybody was like, after hearing "Killing Me Softly," and Lauryn was the biggest star on the planet, to finally hear her first solo joint, that was huge. If I gotta pick another one, it would definitely be the Something Mellow Smooth remix. Here's the thing that I don't get, because Maxwell has done this before. He had a song called on the Best Man soundtrack called As My Girl. And then on the Now album, he remixed it into a slow jam and made it Was My Girl. And I always never understood why more artists didn't do that. Why they didn't take their fast songs. What happened?
They're not capable.
Right.
That's creativity. That's why I'm like Maxwell, like, and it's actually good because certain people will do like, okay, like for example, people like this is the remix and all they did was add additional versions. So a lot of people just aren't creative like that.
Right. And it's one of those things I wish Maxwell did more of because that's one of my favorite things. But I give it a 3.5, 4. 1 through 10 are just classic to me. Hopeless, Crazy, Inside My Love, the Trina Burchard.
Yeah, she killed it.
She killed that. Also, Jay Dilla sampled that for God, I forgot the name of the song. It's a Slum Village song that was crazy. You Move Me by Cassandra Wilson was just crazy to me. Rush Over with Michelle D'Ocello and Marcus Miller. Like, for people who don't know, those are like two of the dopest bass players.
Yes, sir.
My uncle, who's a bass player, calls Marcus Miller like his Jay Dilla. So it was like them both being on the same track was crazy. In a Sentimental Mood, I just thought it was a dope combination of jazz and
yes,
neo soul at that time.
Yes,
again,
it's perfect.
It's on Columbia, so we're looking at that was the label that had Lauryn Hill. That was the label who had a lot of these refugee all stars. So that's what I think they were kind of going for on that. Now, here's the one part I told people I was going to keep it hip hop. Here was the beef. A lot of people don't know that the Fugees and the Roots actually had beef over this, because if you listen to Respond React off of Philadelphia Half-Life and you slow it down, you will get The Sweetest Thing. The same guitar chords and everything. So they had a big beef over that. They were on tour at the same time. They would battle every night to see who had the dopest stage show. But for all my hip hop heads, go out there, do that research. Most folk don't know about that. You listen to Respond React, then go listen to The Sweetest Thing. Same thing off the door. So they had a lot of beef about that. Y'all, thank y'all for chopping it up with me, man. I mean,
thank you.
No. We got to do more of these. B, give them all your stuff. People who don't know, I met B through Twitter. I don't know how I met everybody on Twitter, but I went to her page. She was at a producer contest up at DITC Studios in the Bronx. I was like, I got to follow this shorty. This is my homegirl right there. B, tell them where they can get at you, beats, everything.
All right. Twitter, Instagram, Be The Producer. That's THA, not THE. Yeah, I'm pretty much on Twitter and Instagram. If you're trying to find beats, you're not going to find them on SoundCloud because people steal beats. So I only post them on Instagram. So you have to follow me on Instagram and send a personal inquiry.
All right. No doubt. Britt, give us all your information if you want to put it out there.
Sure. So Twitter and Instagram, Bodega Britt.
All right. No doubt. Porsche, are we giving it out today?
Nah, you're going to put it up anyways. We're good.
Yeah, I got too many weirdos following Porsche now. Vern, what's going on?
VE Chandler 10 and V Chandler 10 on Instagram.
All right, y'all already know this with me, Kill 889 on Twitter, on IG. Yo, appreciate y'all. We chop it up again next week.
Peace.